And Edith knows that. So does Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila, for inviting me to come along tonight and for arranging this platform. All the students, anytime you've got a question to ask, or you want to ask a question while I'm speaking, write it in the chat. Somebody will be collecting the questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer the questions afterwards. Okay? So, and just to say, the meeting is being recorded.
Yeah.
So I better be careful what I say. I'm never careful of what I say, I just say it. Okay, let's put the first slide on to keep me in order. Okay, thank you, Sheila. So I named it Empowered for Greatness because each and every one of us are great. We need to know who we are and whose we are. And when we understand who we are, we're unique individuals. And I'll say my little bit that I always say everywhere I go in a minute, but just to introduce myself, and I put all my titles there on purpose because I want you to see, when I was at school, they told me I was below O-level standard and incapable of writing an essay. And they advised my mother to let me leave school early, just let me leave school because I was just wasting my time, their time and her time. And my teacher, who really hated me, used to tell me that why don't you just go and work in Sainsbury's? She told me that by the time I was 17, I would be pushing a buggy with a baby in it, and I'd be pregnant, and I'd have another child hanging off the end of the pram as well. That's what my teacher told me. So I've proved them all wrong. So go on to just to say what the letters mean in case you don't know what they mean. First of all, I got my honorary doctorate from Middlesex University. Oops, okay. I wanted to say, okay, go on then. This slide. Arise and shine. Doesn't matter what anybody says about you, you need to know who you are and you're in control of your own life. And that's why I say you need to empower for greatness. You have to empower yourself. Often we want everybody else to empower us. But if you haven't got self-esteem and self-worth, it's not really going to help you very much. And that's when you need coaches and mentors along the way to support you, encourage you, and show you what you've got to bring it out of you. But that first picture there, which I'm very proud of, is the picture of me when I got my honorary doctorate. And it was really important because, as I said, they told me I was below O-level standard and incapable of writing an essay. I failed all my O-levels, or GCSEs as you call them, first time, second time. And when it got to the third time, I realized it was all up to me and not up to anybody else, and that I needed to just get on with it. And so I just did it. And I did 8 O-levels and went on to do my A-levels. And then I've done all my other courses, as you saw those letters there afterwards. So don't let anybody define you. You are in charge of your own destiny. And then really, really important, you all have to have an ambition, a purpose, a dream, a desire. When I was 3 years old, my mother gave me a nurse's uniform as a Christmas present. And from that day, I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. And I used to walk around with a little tin of plasters and bring it to school. And all my friends at school had plasters on them, because I was always putting plasters on them. And when I was 7 years old, my best friend that lived up the road, she cut her finger and she wouldn't allow her mother to put the plaster on her finger. She said she wanted me to put it on. So her mother brought it to my house. Fortunately, it was just around the corner. It was only a little cut anyway. But I didn't realise that. I was being a nurse and I put a plaster on there. So that was my first opportunity to put a plaster on a real wounded person. But when I was 11 years old, my mother became a nurse and she advised me not to do nursing because she said, they're going to treat you really bad. They're all racist. They don't like us. Don't do nursing. I said, but I don't want to do anything else. I only want to do nursing. So she made me promise that if I was going to be a nurse, that I should do the registered general training. That's what I was applying for anyway. State registered nursing or registered general training to be a registered nurse. And there was 2 levels of nursing. Like you've got 2 levels now. You've got the nursing associates, and then you've got the registered nurse level. In those days, you had like enrolled nurses and registered nurses. And my mother was an enrolled nurse. And the enrolled nurses were the practical nurses. They were the best nurses, actually. They did the real work, the real donkey work. It didn't get much remuneration for it. But there was very little room to go up the career. Well, there's no room for going up the career ladder unless you actually converted and did the registered training afterwards. But I was applying for the registered nursing because I had my 5 O-levels that I needed, minimum that I needed, and that's what I was applying for. At my interview, they asked me, they suggested, why don't you do enrolled nursing? Because then it's only 2 years. Why do 3 years when you could do 2 years? And I was only 18. And you imagine, when we're young, we just want to get on with it, don't we? But because my mother told me, always listen to your mother, because my mother told me, do not do the enrolled nursing, do the registered general nursing, I said, no, I want to do the registered general nursing. So I was one of very few nurses at that time, black nurses at that time, that actually did my enrolled and my general training. So when I qualified, I was on the management structure already and was able to progress up the ladder. Whereas the majority of black nurses at that time, they were stuck at the enrolled level. It was very difficult to navigate, to convert across and to go up the ladder. So always listen to your mother, I would say there. I'm showing you this the first picture of me with my honorary doctorate, because I did my general training, I specialized in my pediatric course, and came out into the community, did my community course, did my master's. I had to do my master's I became a nurse consultant, and to become a nurse consultant, you had to have your master's. And after I did my master's, my managers wanted me to do my PhD, and I didn't want to do a PhD because I don't know why you need to do a PhD to be a nurse, even though it's fantastic to have a PhD if you want to do one and if you need to have one. But in my role that I was in at the time, I did not need to have a PhD, so I didn't see why I needed to do it. Anyway, my managers insisted that I had to do it because as a nurse consultant, I've raised the bar. And so everybody has to be up to the level that I'm at, and seeing that I've got a master's, I need to do the PhD. And they tried to coerce me or bully or harass me. That's the words that I would use, because they would get me in a room on my own, 3 of them, doing that multi-pronged approach, trying to get me to do what I don't want to do. And one day I said to them, I will do my master's I'll do my PhD if you want me to, but if I do it, they said they will pay for it. I said, okay, I'll do my PhD in biblical studies. As soon as I said that, from that day, they stopped asking me, and they've never asked me again. But a couple of years later, Middlesex University gave me this honorary doctorate so that I could call myself doctor, which my mum is very pleased about. And the middle picture I'm showing you is because if you've got a passion, a desire, and a dream, do not let anyone tell you that you can't do it. I was working in the hospital. I did my general training, then I did my pediatric course, to be a pediatric nurse, children's nurse, and I was on the ward, and I became a Christian while I was when I finished my training. So I wanted to go to church on Sunday, and in those days you didn't have the flexible working policy like we do now. If the sister on the ward didn't like you, or they didn't think very much of you, you weren't going to get the shifts that you wanted. And it always found me very challenging, or most black people challenging. And so it was difficult to get weekends off or the days off that we wanted, even if we requested it. And I asked the sister on the ward if I could just have Sunday off even once a month, I'd be very happy with that. And can I have one of the evenings free in the week to go to meetings? She said, no, Joan, you should have thought about that before you came into nursing. You cannot work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday as a nurse. I said, I don't want to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 as a nurse. I just want to have one Sunday off a month, possibly 2, that would be great. And she said, no. I had to take the shift patterns that she gave me. But I was a senior staff nurse on the ward. And so when they say no, you need to find another way round. So I was a senior staff nurse, and I asked if I could do the off-duty. A couple of weeks later, I just said, oh, by the way, you don't mind if I do the off-duty rota for you? Because I knew she hated doing it, and most people hate doing the rota. So I did the rota where you put in the shifts for everybody. And what I did, I went to all my colleagues and I said, who wants to work on my Sunday, and I will work on your Friday or Saturday? And obviously, everybody wants Friday and Saturday off, and everybody doesn't mind working Sundays, because Sundays was usually a boring and quiet day. So for 6 weeks in a row on the off duty that I did, I had every single Sunday off. And then the sister on the ward found out and told me off. I told you, you can't have every weekend off. You cannot work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 as a nurse and have every weekend off. And I said, seeing that you said I can't, I will. And it just happened that I'd read a research paper, unpublished dissertation about working in the community. And I read it and I thought, wow, pediatric home care teams. It was like district nursing, which is for adults, but this was specifically for children. And it was a new innovation. There was only about 28 of them in the whole of the UK. And I read this unpublished dissertation about working in the, that's why it's really good to read research articles and stuff, be up to date. I read this thing, I thought, I want to do that. And so I wrote out my job description to be a pediatric home care nurse. And I just wrote out what I would do in the role. And at the top, I was an F grade nurse, which is equivalent to like a band 6 nurse now, I think. Band 6, because it was different gradings then. And I put F grade, because that was the grade I was. And then I put 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then I sent it to all the health authorities in London. And I said, I'm looking for a job like this. Have you got a vacancy? They didn't even answer me. However, a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine told me that she just got a job in Camberwell. And I thought, Camberwell? I don't remember writing to them. Let me look them up. And I looked them up in the yellow pages that we don't have nowadays, but the yellow pages with all the numbers in it. And I found a phone number for Camberwell Health Authority. I phoned up the HR department and I just said, I want to be a pediatric home care nurse. Have you got any vacancies, please? They said they're not really sure what I was talking about, but it did sound similar to what they were advertising, but the closing date was the day before. I said, but can you just send it to me? Just send it to me now. I promise you I'll fill it in and I'll send it straight back. And I think they just wanted to get rid of me. So they said, okay. However, they didn't send it to me. And that's why you need to be persistent, insistent, and consistent. I thought, well, they promised me the application form they haven't sent me. I'm going to phone them up. So 10 days later, I phoned them. I said, you promised me this application form. You haven't sent it. I know where you are. I'm coming to get it. They said, no, it's okay. We will send it. So they sent the application form, and no lie, their job description was a spitting image of my job description, and it was pediatric home care team nurse, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, every weekend off. The amazing thing is, I went for the interview, although I didn't have the essential criteria. That's another thing. Don't let people put you off. Sometimes you apply for a job and you think you're not good enough, and that's why we have more men in senior positions, because they might only fit about 45% of the person spec, but they will still go for it and get the job. Whereas we as women, I know I'm speaking to men and women here, but the men know it's true, but some men do. We as women, we look at the person spec, the person specification, and think, oh, I can only do 99%. I can't do that 1%, so I'm not applying. Or, oh, I can only do 75%, there's no point applying. If you fit 70% of the person spec, that's absolutely great, because you need the other 30% as room for development and improvement as you grow it in that role. I fitted all the person spec with the exception of I did not have a degree or diploma in district nursing or community nursing or health visiting, because I didn't have a community course. I've been working in the hospital for 5 years, and I've been working in the hospital for 5 years after qualifying, and I never worked in the community, but I wanted this job. I applied for it. At the interview, they asked me all these questions. I answered all their questions because I went in there confident that this job is mine. That's the attitude that I had. It's my job. I don't care who else is applying, whether they're better than me, bigger than me, more qualifications than me. This is my job. And I walked in there cool as a cucumber. They interrogated me. They asked me all these questions. I answered all their questions. And one question they asked me was, what research have you read recently that has changed your views about nursing? And I was able to talk about this dissertation, who wrote it, when they wrote it, and all this. I just gave a big explanation about working in the community. And they were just looking at each other. And I didn't really think anything of it at the time. And at the end of the interview, they asked me if I've got any questions. So by the way, when you go for an interview and they ask you if you've got any questions at the end, they're giving you an opportunity to interview them so that you can ask some questions to find out whether you really want to work with them or not, whether their terms and conditions and things that they've got is what you want. But I didn't actually really know that. All I knew was I wanted the job. So when they said, have you got any questions? I said, I've got no questions, but I'd like to let you know that I will take this job. However, I would only take it on condition that you sponsor me to do my district nursing course. I know I haven't got a qualification and it's in the essential criteria of the role, but I've already applied and I've got a place at the end of the next year. So I'll work with you for a year, and then you could pay for me to do my course. And so I'm happy to stay at the same grade that I'm at until I've done the course. To work in the community was a G grade. It was the next level up. So it was like going from a band 6 to a band 7 sort of thing, or band 7 to a band 8, something like that. And they just looked at me like, who is this crazy woman? They said, we've got many other applicants. We will let you know. But I was convinced that job was mine. Went home. 3 days later, they phoned me up and offered me the job. And they told me that I could start in a month's time. The problem was I'd already left my other job like 6 weeks previously when I'd left the other job. I had no money left. And I said to them, no, it's okay. I could start on Monday. The woman said, no, you need a month to prepare. I said, no, I'm prepared already. I'll start on Monday. And it was like Wednesday. And I insisted that I was going to start on a Monday. And she goes, okay. So the day when I started on that Monday, after the interview, after they phoned that I got the job, when I went to work, the first person I met, my manager, I met her for the first time. She looked at me. She said, the pediatric home care team starts today with you. Get the patients, get the paperwork, and tell everybody about it. And it was at that point that I actually realized that I didn't have a clue about working in the community, because I'd never worked in the community before. But what I did was, there's always somebody that knows something that you need to know. And that's why we've got people around us. We can't do things in a silo. What I did was, I got in contact with that person that wrote the unpublished dissertation for his master's. I got in contact with him. He was a team coordinator in St. Mary's in Paddington. And I went to see him and I asked him if he could be my mentor. And he said, yes. He gave me all the information I needed. He supported me and helped me all the way through. And a year later, they paid for me to do my district nursing. And the rest is history. That was in 1990. I know some of you were not born then. That was on the 15th of October, 1990. I came out into the community. And from that day until I retired from the NHS in August last year, I've been working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, with every weekend off. And actually, the only weekend I might have worked 5 Saturdays. I could count on one hand, and that was through choice. If there was a child I was looking after that was dying and the family or challenging, and they needed somebody senior to look after them, and I chose to do that. The reason why I've got the picture in the middle is because I actually got my OBE, Officer of the British Empire, from Prince William. It was the first time he was giving out the honours as well, for services to children and nursing. Because I did nursing because I'm passionate about nursing. I love children and I love the work that I do. And that's what I got my OBE for. And I call my OBE... Ooh, somebody needs to be muted. Martin needs to be muted. I call my OBE Order of the British Empire. I call it blessings every day. So that means all of us have got overflowing blessings every day. And the third picture, because it's also children and nursing, because I set up a charity in Kenya over 18 years ago, 2002. I sponsored one girl, and since then I've got like 25 children. I've bought land over there. I've done medical missions there. I've done evangelism over there. And we've got all these children that are being fed and being educated, and they're being sponsored by lots of different people, and they're doing really well. And my ambition now is to build a health centre, a school, a church, and a children's home, or a children's refuge centre on the land that we purchased. Okay, next slide. So you can arise and shine. Next slide, please. So I put this acronym, I Can Breathe, and I put that there because obviously we know that all that happened with George Floyd, and he was crying out saying he can't breathe, and then the first week after that happened and people were protesting, they were all lying on the ground saying that they can't breathe, and I thought you shouldn't really be saying things like that, because COVID was here as well, and people that can't breathe are usually got COVID or were dying, and I didn't think that was good to say that. So we need to be positive. So I can, really important, I can be your authentic self. Don't try and impress people. Don't try to be like anybody else. There's no point in being a copycat or a counterfeit, because if you're copying somebody else or trying to be like somebody else, who's going to try to be like you? That means there'd be no point you even being here, because you're not being who you are. So be who you are. Don't compare yourself with anybody else, because that's when you're going to get depressed and jealous and envious. Just be who you are and be the best person that you can be. Don't try to impress anybody else but yourself. Don't compete with anybody else but yourself. Just be who you are. Be your authentic self. Always rise to the challenge. If they say you can't do it, prove them wrong. You can do it. My motto as a Christian is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You might have your own motto or something that you live by. You can do it. Rise to the challenge if you want to do it. At the beginning of the year, I set the challenge with myself that I'd put on too much weight. I'd just come back from holiday. I was really overweight. My brother told me that I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. So I decided to go on a diet. Actually, I didn't even decide to go on a diet. I thought I'll just change my whole eating habit and lifestyle. Got a personal trainer, changed my whole diet plan. And since January till now, I've lost over 2.5 stones. So if you saw me before, I might have face before, but it's gone down almost as slim as Sheila's. And I've lost over 2.5 stone and over 7 inches on my waist at the last measurement. So you can do it. Just compete with yourself and not anybody else. And then enjoy life. We've only got one life to live. Make the most of the life that you live in. So when people upset you and challenge you and treat you badly, really important. I've got a mentor, a coach. I will phone her up and I'll say, guess what they said to me at work today? Or this was happening. And she'll just help me to calm down and talk through it. And then help me to realize there's more to life than all the things that we're stressing ourselves over. There's more to life than that. So enjoy every moment. Live every moment. My friend came over the other day. She just popped over and said she was going back home again. I goes, no. You're here now. You're going to stay. You're going to stay for a couple of hours. You're going to stay with me. And she goes, no. I need to go back because I need to write my stuff for revalidation. You can write it anytime. You don't have to write it now. And so she said a lovely afternoon. Have ambition. What do you want to do? Don't let anybody dictate to you what to do. You decide what you want to do. And even when they tell you that you can't do it, prove to them that you can do it. Because if you've got ambition and you've got a desire, you will get what you need, what you want in life. And you will have that drive within you, that inner drive and that motivation. You have to empower yourself and be willing to take risks. So I took the risk of going into the community. I wasn't really thinking of it at the time. I just thought, this is the job I want to do. I can do it. Take the risk, and you never know, you'll be successful. Have a sense of humor. If anybody knows me, I'm always joking. I'm always laughing. I've always got a joke to tell. So we have a sense of humor, because actually laughter is a good medicine, and it keeps you young, it keeps you strong. It takes 7 muscles to smile and 52 muscles to frown, facial muscles. So you might as well smile, because then it will help to keep the wrinkles away as well. And then find out what your unique selling point is. For me, obviously, it must be talking. That was what I always got. And it's usually something that people tell you off about all the time. When I was at school, I was always disrupting class. I was always talking. As you know, I could talk for England. I was always talking. So the teacher didn't like me because I was always disrupting the class. But I was only disrupting the class because I was bored, because I'd done what they told me to do. And now I was bored and I wanted to do something else. And so I was just talking. And now I get paid to talk. So it's good to talk. But your unique selling point might be something else. You might be really good at reassuring people. You might be really good at influencing change. You might be a great, fantastic networker like Edith, that's always connecting people together. Find out what your unique selling point is. And then after that, get people to pay you to do it. And then it will no longer be a job. It will be an enjoyment. Next slide, please. Obviously, obstacles do come along, and we can overcome those obstacles. I say, when you have obstacles, obstructions, and oppositions, see them as opportunities and ask yourself, what opportunity do I have to optimistically overcome my obstacles? See the windows of opportunity and go through the open door. So when we're struggling, we can't do it on our own. We need somebody to support us. We need somebody to help us. And it's always good to have a mentor, have a coach, have a role model, have somebody nearby that can help you and support you, because it is a struggle. But when you've got somebody cheering you on, like I did a challenge of doing 100 skips, and then I did 200 skips, and then somebody challenged me to do 1,000 skips. And because there was people cheering me on, it helped me to do it. But if you'd asked me to do it like 3 months ago, on my own. There's no way I was going to do it. But when you've got somebody to encourage you and motivate you along the way, it helps you. And as students, as you're learning and you're studying, one thing that actually helped me was I found a group of people, like-minded people, because it's the people that you associate with that have the same ambitions and dreams as you. We're all studying together, so we're not competing with each other. So we can support each other as we're learning and studying. So when I was doing my master's, I found 2 other people that were doing masters as well, and we used to meet together on a regular basis, and we used to study together. When we're going through the module, you might be studying something, and like statistics, when I did statistics, when I did my masters, I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. And my tutor would just say, just keep with it, Joan, just keep with it. It will sink in. It might feel like it's going over your head, but it will sink in eventually. Well, it sank in to the point that I could pass the exam, but don't ask me about it today. But in my group of friends, one of my friends was really good at statistics. And when she broke it down and explained it to me, I could understand it. Then I was good at something that she wasn't good at, so I was able to explain. So while you're teaching and supporting somebody else, you're actually teaching yourself and reinforcing what you're learning as well. So always support somebody else along the way, because yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. Next slide, please. So let your light shine. Everyone has a light within them. E, this is another acronym here, exposure. E is for enthusiasm. Be enthusiastic, be fervent, be passionate about whatever you want to do. If you're doing something and you're not enjoying it, you don't like it, and you don't want to do it, don't do it. You might as well do something that you want to do and do it really, really well, or not do it at all. Find something else that you can do that you want to do and do it really, really well. Whatever I do it because I want to do it and I enjoy doing it. So that's enthusiasm. To have enthusiasm, be enthusiastic and fired up and passionate about what you do, especially when you're studying. It can be really challenging. Have the people around you that can keep that enthusiasm going and build that momentum. Excel in your area of experience and expertise. As I was saying, find what you enjoy doing and do it really, really well. And you may not, while you're training, obviously we have to go through different modules and learn different subjects. But whatever you do it really well. Do it to the best of your ability. Really important to have a personal development plan, PDP, personal development plan. Now, I didn't have a personal development plan. All I knew was I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I wanted to work in the community. But because I was excelling and doing really well in what I was doing, people would say, where do you see yourself going next? What do you want to do in the next 3 years, 2 years, 5 years? And I'm thinking, I just want to be a nurse. But because I was doing really well, these different roles came up. When the nurse consultant role came up, I'd already set up 2 teams. I set up the team in Camberwell, the paediatric home care team in Camberwell. Then I went and set up a team in Lambeth. Then I went to work at St Mary's in Paddington that actually had the first ever team. That's where the guy that wrote the unpublished dissertation work, I took over from him when he left. When he was leaving his role as the team coordinator, the next level up, when he was leaving, he said to me, you should apply for my job, you can do it. I said, how can I do it? I don't know how to do this. He said, Joan, you've been doing it all this time, just get on with it. And I applied for the job and I got his role. So that's when I came up to another level. And then the nurse consultant role for community children's nursing came round. And previous to that, Tony Blair, this was in 1998, Tony Blair said he was going to create the nurse consultant role because we needed to keep nurses in expert practice, those clinical nurses in expert practice. We're going to create this new role for them. So it was a political role, really. And it was only going to have 1,000 of them throughout the whole of the UK. And their minimum salary would be £40,000. Now, 1998, £40,000 sounded like a whole lot of money compared to what we were getting paid anyway. And I've said, I'm going to be one of those. And so when the nurse consultant role came round, every time I heard there was a new nurse consultant round, I would get in contact with her, phone her, say, can I come and shadow you for the day? Can I ask you some questions? If I couldn't go and see them, I would just say, can I ask you? And I'd ask some questions. I looked up everything about the nurse consultant role and I decided I'm going to be a nurse consultant. But then I realized that I never saw a Black nurse consultant. So I began to think maybe it's not possible for me to be a nurse consultant. And then I was encouraged to do a leadership program, and it was called the BELL program, Black and Ethnic Minority Leadership Program. And I said to my manager, why do I need to go to a Black and Ethnic Minority Leadership Program? Why can't I just go to a leadership program? Why does it have to be specific for Black people? So I was not interested at all. I didn't want to go. I wasn't interested in it. But they kept sending it to me, and my chief nurse in the end sent the application form and the information the third time and told me to consider it. So at that point, I looked at the information, and it was all about learning your strengths and weaknesses and give you opportunity to have a mentor and support and development. I thought, oh, well, they're offering it to me free of charge. I won't have to go to work, so I'm doing this course. Why don't I just apply? I applied for it, but I wasn't really that bothered. They gave me the role, but they gave me the place to do the program, and they told me off and afterwards and said, we know that you didn't put much effort into that interview, but we know that you'll be really good doing it. So I did that program. It was the first time I was in a room in all my years of being a nurse. This was in 2002. In all my years of being a nurse, it was the first time I was in a room where everybody, all the nurses in the room were Black, and the facilitators, we had 2 facilitators, they were also Black as well. It was amazing. And it was only then I suddenly realized, I didn't realize before, I'd been used to being only around white nurses and white people, managers all the time. I was always in the role where I was the Black manager with white staff, but I've never been anywhere where there's lots of Black nurses. And I saw all these Black nurses, and they were all really brilliant at what they do. And I thought, wow. And what was amazing talking to them, and I got my first mentor and I got my first coach. Whoops. And with the mentor, it was a Black mentor, and he was able to give me some insights into things that were happening at work that I didn't realize it was racism, because it used to just go over my head. But he gave me some insight into what was happening. And the coach, the white mentor that I had, she was saying, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do next? And she was giving me all those sort of more academic sort of learning and preparation for continuous development support. And he was giving to me the more day-to-day how to navigate the system of the NHS with racism and stuff. So that was really, really helpful. But what was good about doing that Bell program was they brought in a speaker, a keynote speaker, and it was a Black nurse consultant. And I looked at her. Her name is Kapishenko OBE, and she was a nurse consultant for older people's services, and she was Black. And I thought, she's a nurse consultant, she's a nurse, she's Black, she's a nurse consultant. So that means I could be a nurse consultant too. So I'm going to be a nurse consultant for children, because I'm a children's nurse. She's a nurse consultant for older people. And what happened, actually, literally 9 months later, the nurse consultant role came up for community children's nursing, and I applied for it. I'd seen it before, but I wasn't looking at it because things were happening. Oh, I was being harassed and bullied. I say the truth. I was being harassed and bullied at work by a consultant, a medical consultant, who was treating me really badly, and nobody would believe me because they just thought I was just getting a bit hysterical. There was a new doctor there and I was behaving badly. But what it was, she was telling them that I was behaving badly, and they were, go back, go back, go back. It's moved along. It's gone on. You want me to finish?
No. It was a mistake. Sorry about that, Joan.
Okay. They told me I could talk forever, so I'm going to talk forever. Okay. So this doctor was bullying and harassing me, and I was telling my manager, and they wouldn't believe me. They just thought I was being a bit... Actually, my manager told me not to be so emotional when I told them that she was persecuting me. I'm using all these words. She was treating me really, really badly, but they wouldn't believe me. But thankfully, and that's why I didn't want to leave. I thought, I ain't leaving. She wants me to leave. I'm not going to leave. So I stuck in and I carried on with my work. I did my work to my best of my ability. And one day, my manager's manager came to see me to apologize to me. She said, I need to apologize to you. I really thought it was you. It was your fault. But I realized now it was the doctor. The reason why she realized was the doctor came to her and said, what are we going to do about that, Joan, if I can't work with her? In other words, what she was saying, get rid of me. And my manager's manager said, well, we've got no problem with her competency, her ability to do her job, her professionalism, so you're going to have to learn to get on with her. So that's what made them realize that it wasn't me. And then from then on, my manager and my manager's manager would support me. So I'd go to meetings. What used to happen before that, I'd go to meetings, and anytime I opened my mouth, the doctor would just shut me down one time, and that'd be the end of the story. Whatever I said, she would oppose it. It was really, really bad. Until one day I thought, I'm going to beat you at your own game. And I went to the meeting, and as she was talking, I said, rather than saying what the Royal College of Nursing said, I thought, I'm going to speak their language. I said, according to the Royal College of Paediatricians and Child Health, then I quoted this document, the page, the date it was written, paragraph 6 of the whatever, and I just did a big quote from what doctors say, one of their policy documents. And for the first time ever, she agreed. I agree with everything that Joan is saying. It is true, she said like this. And then she suddenly realized she was agreeing with me. And she said, actually, no, I don't think we should do that because, and then she said, because my managers just stopped her and said, no, we agree with what Joan says. You agree with what Joan says. We're going to go along with what Joan says. So that day, I had the biggest smile on my face. I smiled like this. I smiled so much till my teeth dried up. Because that was the first time ever that I got her. So after that, they realised that. So when the job came around again for the nurse consultant one, it was advertised 3 times. The first time, nobody applied for it. The second time, somebody took the job and left a week later because it was too far for them to travel. When the job came around again, I actually saw it advertised in the Nursing Times. I read it, nurse consultant, the first and only nurse consultant for community children's nursing in the whole of the UK. I thought, that's my job, it's for children, community, and I was a community children's nurse. That's my job. And I wrote on it, I claim this job in Jesus' name, it's mine. And I said to my mother, Mommy, they're advertising my dream job. She said, why are they advertising your job when you're in your job? I said, no, the job that I really want to do. And I showed her it and everything. And my mum said to me, and this is what sometimes you have to realize, sometimes the people closest to you are just trying to protect you by some of the things that they say, which might put you off, but you need to know what you need to do. So my mother said to me, why should they give that job to you when they've got enough blonde-haired, blue-eyed people around? I said, because God said it's mine for the picking, and I'm stepping up to the plate and I'm going to get it. So I went for the interview for the job, the nurse consultant in community children's nursing job. I was convinced this job was mine. I wore my favorite color suit. You might know, purple was my favorite color. I had a suede. I still remember that suit up to this day. I haven't got it anymore though. I'd wear it if I did. It will fit me now, actually. Suede purple suit with silver buttons on it. And I walked into that room. I sat down. That job was mine. I was interviewed by 5 people: chief exec, director of nursing, finance person, HR person, clinical manager. They were firing questions in all directions. And at the end of the interview, when they asked me, have you got any questions? I'd learnt my lesson. I didn't say, this job is mine. I just said, actually, I'd like to ask you some questions. And seeing that my patients, usually when they have to go and see the doctor, they forget what they want to ask him. And we asked them to write it down in a little notebook, so that when you go to the doctor, you remember what you need to say because it'll be written down. I said, I've written in my little purple notebook some questions for you. And I took out my notebook and opened it, and I could see them all looking at each other. And I said, the first question I asked is, would you support me in doing my master's? Now, the only criteria I did not fulfill on the person specification for the nurse consultant role was that it said study to master's level. And my mentor said, don't tell them what you haven't got, demonstrate your transferable skills. And I'd done some master's modules, but I hadn't done my master's. So I said I was working towards it. So in the interview, I asked them, would you support me in doing my master's? And they said, if I was a successful applicant, they would definitely support me in doing my master's. They thought I was doing it and they were just going to support me to continue doing it. What I meant was, I ain't got it yet. I ain't done it yet. I ain't paying for it. If you want it, you're going to have to pay for me to do it. But they didn't know that. We had different ways of thinking and feeling. So when they told me they'll let me know the next day. The next day came, they told me what time they were going to tell me. If you've been through a job and you apply for a job and you really, really want the job, and then they take so long to phone you to tell you that you have or you haven't got the job, it's just really like nightmare. I came out of the interview room, and the first person I saw when I came out from my interview was the guy that was my mentor that had written that unpublished dissertation all those years ago. He was outside the room waiting to be interviewed. He got his master's. I haven't got my master's. He was ready to do his PhD. And I thought, oh no. I looked at him and I said, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, good luck, Joan. Hope you do well. And I looked at him and I thought, good luck to you too. And I was thinking, oh no, they're going to give this job to him. and not me. And I was so upset. I went home and I was praying. I said, God, how could you let me go to this interview and you're going to give it to him and I'm not going to get it? And I was really, really upset. But the next day, they phoned me and they offered me the job. I could not believe it. You should have seen me. I was in the middle of the street. I was in the middle of the road. I remember I was on Oxford Street at the time. I went, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. At the top of my voice in the middle of Oxford Street. And the person on the other end of the line said, okay. She says, Joan, would you like to take this job? And I said, but why didn't you give it to that guy? I know that he applied for it. Why didn't you give it to him? And they said, oh, well, you didn't realize that you knew that he applied for the job. It asked specifically that nobody knows that he applied for the job because he's absolutely devastated. He really wanted a job. I said, yeah, but why didn't you give the job to him? And they said, if we wanted somebody to be a nurse consultant for the whole of London, they would have taken him, but they wanted somebody to be the nurse consultant for Islington, and I would fit in just right with them in Islington, so they want me. And so the woman said to me, Joan, it will make my day if you would take this job. I said, make your day. It will make my day, my week, my month, my year, my life. Of course I take the job. So that's when I got the nurse consultant role, and it was just absolutely amazing. So it's possible. Look for opportunities. I mentioned before about opportunities. What do you want to do? Even my last role that I was in, I woke up one morning, get up, step up, move up, and I knew that I had to just leave my job. I was 14 years in the role as a nurse consultant for community children's nursing, and then nurse consultant for children and young people. And I thought, I need to do something different now. What can I do differently? And I just went onto NHS jobs. And I thought, I know what, associate director, that sounds good. So I put associate director, pediatrics next to it, or children next to it. 3 jobs came up on NHS jobs online. One, the closing date was the next day. The other one looked like a job that I'd be stuck in the office with. And the third one was like my dream job. Working in the community, health, education, and social care, working with children and young people at the center of everything they do. I phoned them up there and then. I said, you are advertising my dream job. It epitomizes everything I've ever wanted to do in nursing with children in the community. And the person on the other end of the line said, well, we look forward to receiving your application form. I thought, oh yeah, I need to put one of those in. So I filled in the application form, went for the job, got the job. And because they really wanted me, they changed the title. So I became Associate Director for Health Services and Chief Nurse. So that was my last role before I retired last year. Who would have ever believed it, that somebody that teachers told you you're never going to amount to anything, to get to such a position? So seize the opportunity in the lifetime as the opportunity. S is for being self-aware. Self-awareness is really important. We talk about self-esteem and self-worth. You need to have self-confidence. You need to know who you are. Self-awareness is in line with having empathy or emotional intelligence. And actually, emotional intelligence in a way is more important than intellectual intelligence, because you've met lots of people that got lots of letters behind their names and they've got PhDs and all the rest of it, but they haven't got any common sense, or they don't even know how to relate to people in the real world. I'm not saying everybody's like that, just some people. There's few people. I've met a few people like that. But there's some people that have got a lot of emotional intelligence. They can read the room. They can empathize with people. They understand where people are coming from. They're absolutely fantastic. So you need to develop self-awareness or emotional intelligence. And really important as well, the U is for utilize. Utilize what you got, where you are, until you get to where you need to go. So if you're in a job at this moment that you don't actually enjoy or like one single bit, you're there for a reason. You're only there for a reason and a season, just for a little while. But while you're there, there's people around you that you can glean from, that you can learn from. And I've found that even the people that treat you really, really bad, you can learn from them. You think, well, I had one manager, I thought, I'm never going to be a manager like that. It helps you to know what you're not supposed to be like when you see these bad managers. And even when I was working in the university as a senior lecturer, I thought, well, I'm not going to be like that person either. So you can learn about what to be like from these other people, but then at the same time, there's people around you that have got the skills or something that they can actually give to you, they can teach you or show you. So always utilize what you got, where you are, until you go to where you need to go. Because often, rather than being in the moment where we are, we're looking over there to where we want to be. And the grass might look greener on the other side, over the fence. But actually, when you go over there and stand on that green grass, you'll notice it's got lots of weeds. It's the weeds that make it look green. No, weeds are green as well. And all you might notice, it might look really nice, but you didn't know all that work they put into mowing the lawn and to watering it every day. It's a lot of hard work. So make the most of what you got, where you are, until you go to where you need to go. And then, as I mentioned before, about having a role model, a mentor, and a coach. I've got several mentors and coaches. And don't be when you start when I started my job I moved from being a nurse consultant to being the chief nurse and associate director. After my interview and I said to my manager that this is a big step up from being a nurse consultant to being the chief nurse of a whole service. So I need to have a coach. So always ask for what you want for. If you don't ask, you don't get. Many of us don't get because we don't ask. And going back a little bit before that, I remember when I was going for an appraisal, and I said to my manager where I was working as a team leader at the time, I said to her, I'm sure I'm working over and above my job description. And she said to me, I'm sure you are, Joan. And I said to her, so what are you going to do about it? And she said to me, it's not for me to do anything about it, it's for you to do something about it. So I said, well, what can I do about it? And she said, why don't you speak to HR? So I spoke to HR. I found out they've got a policy of remuneration and giving you extra increments if you can actually prove that you're working over and above your job description. I never knew that. But if you didn't ask the question, you wouldn't know. Because they're not going to tell you that. I don't know if they've still got that now. But I found that policy and I looked through it and I made a little folder with evidence of all the things that was over and above my job description. Now you've got your job description, you get it when you start your job. Before you went for the interview, you were reading it morning, noon, and night. You get the job, you sign the contract, you just dash it over to the side, put it in a drawer, and forget about it forever. Take it out, have a look at it. I know it has a line on it or anything else the manager wants you to do. That doesn't mean covering all 10 complete different jobs that's not in your job description. I was able to find all evidence for all the things that I was doing that was over and above my job description. I put it in a folder, gave it to HR and my manager. And guess what? They gave me an extra increment and they backdated it a whole year. So I got a whole lump sum load of money and it came just at the right time, just as I got my nurse consultant job and was leaving. It came in that time before I left to become a nurse consultant. So if you don't ask, you don't get. And then E, I put the last one, I don't know if you can see it properly on the screen. It says exposure. It actually spells exposure. If you're doing something, you might be absolutely brilliant at what you do, but if nobody knows that you're doing it, how are you going to be recognized for it or acknowledged for it? And for me, I believe in blowing my trumpet because it's my trumpet. I'm not showing off. I'm just saying who I am and what I do. If you know who you are and what you've got to offer, what you're hiding it for, especially when you know that somebody else needs it and you can encourage and empower others. But not only do I blow my own trumpet, I blow everybody else's trumpet around me. And I'm absolutely really, really honored to be on the Nursing Times Awards panel, judging panel, and the Nursing Standard Awards judging panel. And I used to be on HSJ judging panel as well. So I will find all of my people wherever we are, and I'll be telling them. In my last job I was in, I'd go around, I'd just speak to people. I goes, come here, tell me about yourself. What do you do? Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. You need to fill in this form. You need to apply to do this, or you need to get that award, or get your manager to put you forward. So I said, just give me the information. I'll do it for you. Like, they'll give me the information and I'll do it. And I said, oh, by the way, you've just won an award. I didn't make them win. Because you have to be in it to win it. And some of us, we're not in it. We're just murmuring and complaining. And we're wondering why we're not. I was on the... which one was on last week, a couple of weeks ago, the Nursing Standard Awards panel. There was 700 applicants, only 60 of them were from a Black and minority ethnic background. And I won't say any more from that now, but I'll let you know, somebody got through. Somebody got through. And that's another thing that's really important. If you're not on the panel, not on the committee, not around the decision-making table, then decisions will be made about you without you, which will be detrimental, which could be detrimental to you. So I was on the NICE guidance panel for children with eczema under the age of 12. And on that panel was dermatologists, pediatricians, specialist nurses in eczema, in dermatology, in all that stuff. And I was there as a nurse consultant in community children's nursing, and I ran an eczema clinic in the community, so I was there in my capacity there. And on this panel, they were talking about everything to do with eczema and the emollients, what creams to use, and how to treat the children, and diagnosis and everything. And I was the only Black person on that panel, and I said to them, did you know that Black skin is different to white skin? And it went all silent, and they all looked at each other and looked at me. And then the chairman said, yes, we know that, kind of like that. I said, well, if you know that, you know the presentation of eczema in Black skin is different to the presentation of eczema in the white skin. In white skin, you'll say that they look red in the creases, and the skin is really red and raw and stuff. But with a Black person, they might have the rashes on the outside of the skin, and they might have pimply skin, and it doesn't look the same. It doesn't present the same because it doesn't look red. It will look sometimes thickened and black, and more black. And then lichenification, when it gets really thickened and darkly pigmented because of all the scratching, presents differently, and often they come with little pimply spots as well, and then you're misdiagnosing them and telling them that they've got scabies or ringworm or whatever else when they haven't. They've got eczema. And because I said that in the room, they wrote it. If you look at the NICE guidance for children with eczema under the age of 12, the 2007 NICE guidance, and I think they updated it several times over, it says in it, children from African, Caribbean, or Asian descent are more likely to present differently. As a result, GPs now know that when a Black child comes in, or a child with darkly pigmented skin, they don't just diagnose them of having ringworm, look at the skin and see whether it could possibly be eczema. So they take that into consideration now. If I wasn't around the table, that would not have happened. Another example of why you need to be, that's the exposure bit, you need to be around the table. When you go to meetings, don't sit there like a little mouse and say nothing. You're in the room for a reason. Don't just speak because you want to speak. Speak because you've got something to say. And you're sitting around the table. I was in a meeting as a nurse consultant when they were creating the community matrons role. And they wanted a community matron for diabetes, a community matron for respiratory care, a community matron for anything. And I said, if we look at all the, and make sure you've got evidence as well, empirical evidence for everything you do. I said, if you look at the research evidence of children that come to A&E at night, yes, they've got respiratory problems and they've got fevers and stuff like that, but a large majority of them that come in are children with sickle cell disease that are having sickle cell crisis. So I think we should have a community matron for sickle cell disease. They said, no, we don't need that, Joan. We don't need that. We've got a specialist nurse for sickle cell, so we don't need to have a community matron for sickle cell disease. I goes, but you've got a specialist nurse for asthma, and you've got a specialist nurse for diabetes, but you still want to have a community matron for those roles. So why can't we have a community matron for sickle cell disease? Now, I don't think it's necessary. I came back the next week. I said, I've just looked at these figures for the last month. And guess what? The majority of children that come into A&E is not because they've got asthma or diabetes or fever, just of unknown origin. It's because they've got sickle cell. So I believe we need to have a community matron for sickle cell disease. And they try to make all the excuses. And in the end, they had no choice but to agree. And as a result, they developed a community matron for sickle cell disease role. And I believe that role is still there's only one community nurse, community matron for sickle cell disease in the whole of England, London. I don't know of any other, and that's in Islington, and she's still around today. So I'm just giving you those as examples of why we need to be around the decision-making table when they're making decisions. I'm sitting on interview panels. I'm really fortunate they asked me to sit on interview panels because we have diversity of thought. We see things differently to the way other people may see them. So when they're doing the interview and they decide, oh, I don't think we'll give her that job because, I said, why can't you give her the job? She filled all the points. She filled all the criteria, and actually she interviewed better than all the other people there. So why don't you want to give it to her? One of the excuses that I was given why they didn't want to give the person, who was a black person, the job was, we don't think that she would want the job. I said, why would she not want the job? She applied for the job. She must want the job. Just like everybody else that applied for the job. If you don't offer her the job, you won't know whether she wanted the job or not. She's the best person for the role, and she's better than this person because of this, 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 and this. And in the end, they came round and they agreed that it was true. And they did apply. They did offer her the job, and she got the job. But if I wasn't there, she wouldn't have got the job. And even with students, I was a senior lecturer. I'm just giving you examples of reality. That's why you need to be in those positions. As a senior lecturer, I was a lecturer, but I was mentoring one of the students, and she was failing her exams, and I supported her in doing her assignment again, one of her assignments again. I'm talking reality here. I went to see the principal. We were doing some project where I was working, and she just mentioned to me as I was leaving the meeting, oh, by the way, I'm going to see somebody from where you work, one of the nurses in your team. I goes, really, who's that? And she told me. She said, oh, she hasn't done very well, you know. I don't even know why she's doing her master's. I don't know how she got into doing her master's because she's not really very good. I said, really? I goes, what happened? She said her essay was actually below the level that they would even expect somebody with a degree to have, much less the master's. And this was the master's module this girl was doing. I said, really? What assignment is it? And she told me, I goes, well, actually, I was supporting her in writing her assignment. I would like to stay in the room while you talk to her. And she was getting all shifty. I said, it's all right. I haven't got anywhere to go. I'll just wait here. She's coming in. You said, you've seen her now? Let's see her together because I'm her mentor. She'll answer. She won't mind me staying in the room. I stayed in the room and I said to the principal, I said, let's just go through the whole essay. And guess what she said to me before the girl came in the room? She said she didn't actually read the assignment. She went by what the first marker said, and the first marker was a specialist in the area, and she's the second marker. And because the first marker failed her, she just agreed with what the first marker said. I said, so when she comes in the room, can we just go through the assignment together? We went through the assignment together, and she goes, oh, that's really good. That's great. That's fantastic. Oh, maybe we need to change that. By the end of it, the woman could see that there was nothing in that assignment why that girl should have failed. And she had to pass the girl. And if I hadn't been in that room, not only would she have failed, she would have got kicked out because she'd failed a couple of assignments before that. Maybe because of the way their racist behavior. And in the end, this girl passed her exams. And I've got several people like that. I had one person, my friend sent me this 8,000 word dissertation to read over the weekend. And I goes, why are you giving me all this? And I thought, because she's a friend of mine, you know, you do things for a friend. I'm just telling you, this is the reality of it. I read it through, and I said to her, wow, this is fantastic. This is really, really good. Actually, I think you need to enter this for Mary Seacole Award. It's phenomenal. And she told me that it wasn't her dissertation, it was her friend's, but she didn't want to tell me that it was her friend's because she knew I wouldn't read it. And she said the friend had been told by her tutor that she would most probably fail her dissertation because they felt it was racist because of the way she wrote it, because she was talking about organ donation in black and minority, black people. And so they felt that because she was centering it on, focusing on black people, that it was racist. I thought, really? So I said, no, it's absolutely brilliant. What you need to do is just change some of the wording. So rather than talk about black, we just use the political terminology, BME, black and minority ethnic. And that's what I did. Told her just change those wordings. And I told her, tell your friend that she's absolutely brilliant. And if I was her, I would apply for a Mary Seacole Award. And so, because I was on the panel for the Mary Seacole Awards, I was working at the Department of Health at the time, and I was on the panel, I was in charge of all the awards and everything. And so when the applications came through, I said, tell your friend. She told her friend, she said, could you help her in filling the application form? I said, I couldn't do that because that would be conflict of interest, but I referred her on to my coach and got my coach to advise her, support her and do whatever. When she applied, put her application form in, I've never met this girl, she put her application form in, all 7 of us on the panel agreed that she should get a Mary Seacole Award. And it was the first time in all the applicants that we had, in all the years that I was there, all the application forms that came through, there was always 4 out of 7 of us, or 5 out of 7 of us, or possibly 6 out of 7 of us that agreed that that person should get an award. She was the only one that all 7 of us agreed that she should get an award. She got the award. She was absolutely phenomenal. I went to see her director in nursing and said to her, why is she a band 6? She should be a band 7. And she goes, oh, it's not up to me, it's up to the director. I said, you are the director. She goes, no, that's to the divisional director. Listen, if you're somewhere and they don't want you, as I said, you might know I say this, go where you're celebrated, don't stay where you're not tolerated. Anytime you're denigrated, you will never be appreciated. She was doing really phenomenal, groundbreaking, innovative work, and they had her as a band 6, and she's working at a band 7, possibly a band 8 A level. So they didn't want to give her a different level. I said, none of us are trees. I think there's a quote somebody said, we're not trees with roots in the ground in the hospital or community or trust or ward or wherever you're working. You're not rooted to the ground. You don't need to stay there. You can get up and go. Don't stay there. Oh, my slides have gone. Does that mean I need to finish?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Joan. I think we're just a little bit tight for time. It's fantastic. Do you want me to move on to the next one, or are you...
Okay, go to the next one then, because that's all about exposure, being on the panel, being on the board, any opportunity to be in meetings and speak up in meetings, do it. Right, so excel and do well. You are, this is my quote now, you are one of a kind, right from God's mind, you, or whatever you want to call him. You are a divine design. There's no one else like you on the face of this earth. You're not just 1 in a million, you're 1 in 7.4 it is now, 1 in 7.4 billion. And if you were not here, the world would not be the same without you. You're here for a reason, just for a season, not for life. But while you have life, make sure that you leave a legacy for life. And the only way to do that is to have a vision, have a purpose, have a dream, and fulfill it. So my sister always said to me, for good, better, best, never let it rest until your good be better and your better best. And if at first you don't succeed, try and try and try again, because the challenge to change is your choice, and you cannot change what you tolerate. So be the change that you want to be. Be the change that you want to see. If you see things that's not going well, that's not going right, think of what you can do to improve things and make it better. Find something you do well and get paid to do it, like I get paid to talk. What is your unique selling point? What is your brand? What are you really good at? Find your purpose and live your dream. Next slide. I forgot I'm supposed to give time for you lot to ask me questions. Right. What step are you on? Are you on the step like, I won't do it, or I can't do it? Oh, I want to do it. How do I do it? I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. Yes, I did it. You can do it. Go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Ta-da! You can do it. This is me on top of Table Mountain in South Africa. Absolutely fantastic. You can you can go from good to great to phenomenal. You are all phenomenal. You can get there. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't get there. Don't let anybody hold you down, hold you back, or hold you from doing what you want to do. You can be the best person that you can ever be, because there's no competition except for yourself. Okay, so challenge yourself and do it. Thank you. Oh, just at the bottom there, that's my email address there. And I don't know why you can't see the bottom, but I have my Twitter handle. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter, because I'm a Twitter freak. I'm trying to stop tweeting all the time, but Edith knows what it's like. So it's at Joan_Myers if you want to follow me on Twitter. And if you want to email me, I've just set up because I'm retired from the NHS now. So I've set up my own consultancy, Joan Myers Consultancy. If anybody wants mentoring and coaching, they could come to me, obviously, for a fee. And I will coach you, mentor you, and enable you to go from good to great and empower you for greatness. Thank you. Over to Sheila.
Well, I'm just going to unmute everybody. Okay, so let's just give Joan a big clap and say thank you very much. I think I've unmuted everyone. Some are still on mute. So just unmute yourselves. Let's just give her a big clap.
Well done, Pastor. Thank you.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic, Joan. There's about 3 questions so far that has gone in there. One's from Perry. If we can start with Perry.
Thank you, Georgie.
Dr. Myers, thank you so much. That was amazing, absolutely, and thank you for joining us this evening. My question is in relation to our students, newly qualified and junior nurses. Over the years, as I'm sure many of us can say, it takes us a lot to build our confidence, especially when we've been knocked down in the NHS. Conflict, bullying, harassment, etc. And it takes us a long time. I'm speaking from my own experience, I can't speak for anyone else. It takes us a lot to rebuild that confidence and find emotionally intelligent people to surround ourselves with, and in order to support.
Perry, can you just unmute yourself for a moment? It's just that there's a bit of background noise. Sorry about that.
Oh.
That's great, thank you.
Sorry, how far did I get?
just probably 1 or 2 sentences.
Okay. So for us, the more senior we become, the more confidence we build. We can surround ourselves with the right people to support us. But for our students and our junior colleagues, how do we get them at such an early stage to get that support, surround themselves with like-minded colleagues, get that support from their managers, and to be believed if they have issues with bullying or racism? How do our students and junior nurses move forward?
Okay, first of all, the network that we've got, that Sheila's got, is it HAREDIN and HAREDIN?
HAREDIN and
HAREDIN.
Yeah.
The network, that network will be a really powerful network for them to be in, because they'll be around like-minded people that understand the issues and can support them if they're in the university. Also in the workplace, if they're actually now working in the hospital or NHS trust, they have a BME network forum there. They could join those forums. And usually most NHS organisations have a mentoring scheme. And I know that NHS England used to have a mentoring scheme, because I remember doing a mentoring programme with them, where you can actually ask for a mentor, and you can ask for them, and you can say you don't want a mentor from your own organisation. You can say you want one from another organisation if you want a different one. But you can actually ask for a mentor, and then people that you're around, make sure you're around people that support you and encourage you, that you feel confident enough to say if things are not good. When it comes to harassment and bullying, I like to call it out. I'll just say it as it is. If I don't care who they are, it could be the Queen of England. If you're not treating me right, I'm going to tell you. And so even my manager one day told me something. I just told her, I just took her in the room, said, by the way, I wasn't happy with what you just said to me. Actually, I find it really offensive and disturbing that you could say something like that. And straight away, she's ready to cry. That's another thing. White tears, look it up. Actually, I'll send the paper to Sheila. This thing called white tears. So as soon as you say something to them, just tell them the truth. All you do is just tell them the truth. They start crying. So I just handed her a tissue. Yeah, have a tissue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She goes, I'm sorry, Joan, I'm so sorry. I said, it's okay, I accept your apology, just don't do it again. And then I walk out of the room and leave her to it. And that's my coach says, if you take them aside, one-on-one, it's just you and them. Just tell them. Don't be rude. Just say, this. When you said this to me, this is how I felt. When you did that, this is how it made me feel. Please do not do that again, because I find it very upsetting. And if you find it challenging doing that, that's why it's important to have a mentor or a coach. You could go and speak to them about it, and they will help you to say the right words, to say it in the right way, so you're not being offensive or rude. And also, the Royal College of Nursing have the Inclusion Solution Cafe. If you look on the RCN website, there's an Inclusion Solution Cafe where they talk about civility and incivility in the workplace, and you can actually look, and it will give you some advice and support on how to deal with. Because I never knew when I was being harassed and bullied at the beginning, until I did my master's, my eyes were open. I think it was just my little protection over myself. I said, no, nobody's bullying. Nobody's being racist to me. Actually, people say, did you not hear what she just said about you? And I say, no, what did she say? And they'll tell me it was derogatory. I goes, well, it's their problem, not mine. I was just letting it just go over my head. But then when my eyes were open and I realized what they were saying and doing now, I got vexed. And I had to try and control my emotions. And then I learned how to just deal with it. I just believe in calling it out straight away. Do not let it happen 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 years later, you start complaining and you're keeping a little log of all the stuff that they said and did. First time, they say or do something that you don't like, you could think, let that slide, go home and reflect on it, think about it, speak to your mentor or your coach. Next time it happens, get on it straight away. Or if it's something that's so blatant, the first time you see it, call it out straight away. You can wait, you don't have to do it in an open forum with everybody else around. After the meeting, you could just say, can I have a word with you, please? I just want to let you know how I felt when you said this. This is how it made me feel. And let them know. And they'll soon change their tune. They'll know who to bully. They know who to bully anyway. As my mentor used to say to me, my coach used to say to me, people are only bullied because they want to be. They allow themselves to be bullied. I said, no, they don't. I don't want to be bullied. She said, now calm down, now, Jen. You need to have some emotional intelligence. Now learn. She'll teach me what to say and what to do. Okay, so I hope that's answered your question.
That has.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Thanks for your question, Perry. Laura, you need to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. So Joan can hear you. Okay, go on.
Hi everyone. Hi, Dr. Joan. My question is, how do you motivate yourself to stay persistent when dealing with challenging people?
Mm-hmm. How to keep yourself motivated and when dealing with challenging people?
Yeah.
That's a really, really good question because it can be very challenging. It's to know, always have if you have a vision and a focus, you know why you're there. So, for example, if you're a student nurse and are you a student nurse?
Yes.
What year
Yes,
you?
I am.
What year?
Going on to second year.
Going on to second year. So you know that you came into nursing because you want to be a nurse.
Yes.
So you've got a 3-year plan going there. Nobody and nothing is going to stop you from completing it. And that's what they want to do. If you think of it, the bullies and the people that are treating you badly and harassing you, they just want to put you off. They want to deflate you. And often when they're trying to put you down, people that are trying to pull you down or put you down is because they want to bring you down to their level. They feel lower than you and you're shining so brightly. They just want to dim your light and they want to drag you down. Somebody that's dragging you down is usually, somebody can't drag you down if they're higher than you. They can only drag you down if they're lower than you. So if you know who you are, you know that there must be something about you that they don't like and they don't want because they're jealous, they're envious, they're just bad breed people, as my mum would say. So you know who you are and you know why you're there. Just do your job to the best of your ability. And what I do when they're really, really nasty, I kill them with kindness. I'm so nice to them, they don't even know what hit them. I had a manager that was so awful. She'd come in the morning and I say, oh, would you like a cup of tea? I'll make you a cup of tea. Do you want a cup of coffee? Actually, I brought some biscuits in. My last job that I was in when the manager was awful, I used to give her chocolates. And she would come to me, she goes, Joe, was it you that put that chocolate on my desk? I said, did you notice there were 2 bars of chocolate? She goes, yes, thank you. Like that. And they don't know what to do because it discombobulates them. They don't know what to do because the more they're being horrible to you, the more you're being nice to them and they just don't know what to do. Somebody's asking me, what's my Twitter name? It's @Joan_Myers, MYERS. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So either kill them with kindness, but the most important thing of all is focus on what you're there for and make sure they can't find any reason for whatever they're saying. If they're saying that you're not doing your job to the best of your ability, you make sure that you do your job really, really well. And don't focus on them. Just get on with your job and don't rise to debates. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You also had another question. She was asking Joan how you managed to stay empowered because you've got like quite powerful talk and you're motivated. I can't believe anybody would be even stupid enough to step there with you to try and take you down. So
I think
how do you maintain that?
Yes.
I think I'm naturally a positive person anyway. So even if I'm down for a little bit, I'll come up straight away because it can't last forever. But so I think it's inbuilt. And my mother told me that I'm brilliant. I mean, I've got the right sort of people around me that tell me that I'm good, I'm okay, I'm great. And I think it's from your socialization and the family background as well. That sort of helps and the kind of support network that you have around you. But someday when I feel down, I could phone somebody. I would phone Edith. Edith will tell you, and I'll tell her I'll moan and groan. You ain't heard me moan and groan. When I'm ready to moan and groan, I really moan and groan. But I get it over it, and then get on with it and think, what can I do about it? How can I change this situation? And often I like to just, as I say, rise to the challenge and deal with it. It's like Maya Angelou says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change your attitude and stop complaining. So it's just about changing your attitude about it. If you don't like it, just go. I would say people in the NHS, you're a student, that's different. You have to continue your training, you're there for time. But people that are qualified, they're in the same job 10 years later, complaining about their manager, complaining about the staff, complaining about everything. I just say, just stay there then, because obviously you must like it there. But get up and go if you know that you can get up and go. You don't have to stay in those places. But as a student, you just make sure you get the right support. You got your link tutor. Did have link tutors?
Yeah, they still do.
Practice teachers and stuff, practice development stuff. Speak to them about it if there's anything to do with your work environment and your mentors. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there was something really interesting that you said, Joan. You spoke about the fact that in a lot of your jobs, and I only stayed until I was a ward manager, and then I had enough of that. And that's what moved me into teaching. But you spoke about being the only black person in the room. Yeah. It was so common that you didn't actually feel uncomfortable about it at all or notice. And I think the other thing that you spoke about was when you first looked at that job to be a nurse consultant, and then you noticed that there weren't any black ones, that it kind of made you feel, because of that, you couldn't be a nurse consultant until you saw the one. But when you went into those situations, how did you feel when you went in and you were the only BAME in the room?
But when it came to BME stuff, I never really took much notice about it because I was just doing my job. It was only after, when I applied to work at the Department of Health as a professional officer for diversity, and in that was when they were talking about you had to have understanding of black and minority ethnic issues and stuff like that. So it was only then that I started reading up about it. And it wasn't until when I actually got the job and I was in the role in the Department of Health, and I looked around, everybody was white. There was no black. When I said there was no, actually my PA was black, and the admin people and the reception staff were black, but I was the only black professional officer in the whole of the Department of Health. And to me, that was only then that I sort of looked around and thought, wow, kind of thing. And it's also because they made comments. So within the first week I was there, somebody said, it's funny that you're here, Joan. Says everybody else that's here are related to somebody here or are friends with somebody. And they pointed out that person's married to that person's a friend of that person and that. It was all like that. But it's like, you just come out from nowhere. Like, I can't possibly be a friend with anybody there. And I just looked at her and I said, by the way, did you know that 21 people applied for this job? 5 of them were shortlisted and I got the job. I didn't parachute through the ceiling, so I must be the right person for the job. And she just shut up. And then from that day, she became my best friend. And we were best friends and right up until when I left. So sometimes you just have to and also some of the things that they say to you, I had to do a talk about black and minority ethnic people, the Equality Act when it came out, to the chief nursing officer and all their top team. And I was doing it with the equality and diversity lead, who was really nervous, anxious. She was a white lady. She was really nervous and anxious, and she said she couldn't sleep the night before, because I don't think of anybody as being big or better or great. I just think we're all on the same level, whether you got a title or not. You're just human beings. We're all human. So I just go from that level. So I wasn't nervous or stressed or anything, but she really was. I said, okay, you do the introduction, just do the first bit, and I will do the rest. So we did that. They handed over to me. I did the talk. At the end of the talk, they asked me to do the talk for the whole of the Department of Health in London and in Leeds, in Quarry House in Leeds. I said, yeah, okay. The other lady that I was doing it with didn't want to do it. She goes, Joan, it's all right. You can do it, Joan. I go, it's fine. They sent all the slides out to everybody. A couple of weeks later, I came along in this room. They had video conferencing and everything. Went in the room to do this teaching, and they said, we've already sent out the slides to everybody, and Joan's going to talk about this. And I said, no, actually, I've changed my mind. You've got the slides. You can read it in your own time. I'm going to talk about this. And I put my USB stick in the computer, and I said, I'm talking about the unconscious bias. And remember, I'm in the room with all white people, and I basically told them about how white people behave. And they were like, their eyeballs were popping out of their head. They couldn't believe it. But it was true. I had all the evidence. I talked about pen condola, the unconscious bias, and how they behave. And they realized afterwards. One of them told me a couple of weeks later, that it was in a meeting. He goes, guess what, Joe? I was in a meeting, and did you know there was no black people there? There was only 2 women, most of us were men, but there were no black people there. I goes, don't you go to that meeting all the time? He goes, yes. He goes, but he's never ever noticed that there was no black people until he heard that talk. And somebody else came to me and told me that she realized that every time she employed somebody, she only employed white people in the professional officer or senior roles, and the black people, she was employed them, she said it to me, as reception staff or admin workers, because that's what the level that they see them as. So I opened their eyes to a lot of things. But it doesn't move me because we're just people. People with white skin, black skin, brown skin, we're just human beings. We just stop demonizing everybody and racializing everything. It's not about color. It's about your competency, your character, and your conduct. Just get on with your job. And then in the end, they won't be going on about it all the time. Well, they might still be, but you just know how to deal with it. Okay.
All right. I think Mark, a few people are logging off now, I think, because they have to go.
Okay.
Not that you're uninspiring, Joan. I can listen to you all night.
Well, I just wanted to add also that Joan is the inspiration behind HAREDIN and SHAREDIN. And the reason for that was because she led on the Chief Nursing Officer's Black, Minority and Ethnic Strategic Advisory Group for 5 years. Is that correct, Joan? Just over 5 years.
5 years.
She did a remarkable job of bringing race equality to the forum, for discussion for nursing. And this is the reason that we have HAREDIN and SHAREDIN in Middlesex University today. And I'm very lucky to have been part of that network and still part of it as well. And I want to say thank you, Joan, for spending your own personal time to come and talk to us and share your insights and inspire our students. Our alumni are here, and also some nursing staff, qualified nursing staff as well, and from other trusts. Thank you to Edith, who is very quiet in the background and always supports us as well. Many people say she should have been a nurse, but in actual fact, she's been amazing, absolutely amazing. And also thank you to Georgie and our SHAREDIN chairs who organised this with us. Jez, would you like to say some words of thanks? And Alicia, are you there?
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Joan, for taking your time again with us, explaining your experiences. I'm reading through some of the chats, and everybody is gonna, I'm sure, take away something to move forward, whether it's how to handle conflicts, whether it's how to progress in their career. For myself, it's more than just inspiring, quite phenomenal just hearing this. And a lot of things are very relatable, from what you've said. So thank you very, very much. Alicia?
I just want to continue and say thank you so much. The team have been kind of influencing me to get Twitter, speaking to you, listening to you. I've just made a Twitter, and I'm going to tweet about you because the whole world needs to know about you. I doubt that you have inspired so many nursing consultants. You probably inspired people who are on band 5s to go to their managers and say, I'm working at a band 6 and I need, you've done a lot, and you're an amazing person, and it was just great. And we said, well, so
thank you so much. And I need to see Trivoli. Wasn't it Trivoli? Edith said it was Trivoli.
Where is Trivoli?
I need to see her face. Thank you.
Hi, Joan. Thank you very much. This is amazing. I just got in I had a conversation with Edith. She's the manager of my last extended placement. And towards the end of the placement, we were just talking. And I told her how I'd met you in one of the Nigerian Nurses Association. And you were phenomenal. And I'm like, I'd like to just have 5 minutes, and here I got more than I expected.
You caused it. Please see how phenomenal you are. You were the one who caused this whole platform to be here, and through you, So many people, 40 odd people have been inspired, empowered and encouraged because of what you did. Can you imagine that? You don't even realize how brilliant you are. That's a woman of influence. You're a social influencer.
Thank you.
You're nursing, aren't you? You're a nursing student?
Yeah, final, well, finishing now.
Wow, congratulations.
And
When do you qualify?
Well, we have our meeting in September, and then hopefully we will be on the register in October.
Excellent. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Joan, I just wanted to ask you, I see a few of my classmates in the room here with us. What advice do you have for us who are about to start our career journey?
Know where you want to go next. So you're just starting out now. Don't just stay in the same position, because some people, they stay at band 5 like for 10 years. Make sure that you shouldn't be at band 5 for more longer than maybe 2-3 years at the max, I would have thought, and then be thinking about going to the next level. I'm not talking about going levels, just going from band 5 to band 6 to band 7. It's just, but to make sure you don't stay at one level, and when the opportunity arises, go for that next role. I had to go to King's College Hospital to speak to the nurses there. There was all these band 6s, junior assistant nurses, junior sisters they were, black, all of them, band 6. There was a band 7 role available. Not one of them was applying for it, and yet so they were all complaining that they never got an opportunity. You have to be in it to win it. If you don't apply, you're not going to get it. But when you're applying for the next level, make sure you've got somebody to support you through writing a supporting statement, because sometimes the supporting statement stops you from being shortlisted. And then when you are shortlisted, you need support in the interview preparation as well. We can't just walk. Even me at my level here, I still have interview preparations when I'm going for interviews. I'm filling in a supporting statement at the moment. I will send it to my coach and make sure that she checks it over and make sure I've said the right thing. We always need support and development along the way. So don't do it on your own. And if you don't like something, call it out. Yeah, deal with it.
Join Sheridan and HAREDIN as an alumni or as a student.
Repeat that, Sheila. Going to?
Join us, Sheridan and HAREDIN. So now you're going to qualify. You'll become an alumni. So join the alumni network.
Okay.
So you can.
And I just thought I didn't say it. The 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Proper
preparation
prevents poor. I like that.
Yeah, I didn't make it up. It's just one of those sayings. But prepare yourself for where you're going and perform well. Yeah.
Can I say that one of the key to the things that I liked, and it is one of my favorite ones that you say, Joan, is that about go where you're celebrated, not where you're denigrated and tolerated. And that is so true, that for many years people will sit, moan, complain and stay in the same place and not move. And that is, sorry ladies, and again gents, it's true, the guys will move around. And the reason why I got promoted and went to where I was to become the senior sister and ward manager and ran my own department was because I wasn't prepared to stay still where I was. I was always looking for the next opportunity, the next post up, the next band up. And when I got to the point where I was, I've told a few people this before, I was deputizing because my manager was off sick, and was doing all the bits, covering the hospital, doing all of that, and then went to a meeting when we got a new manager, a white man, who turned around and said to me, and there was another person doing it who was a white woman, he upgraded her, gave her the sister's uniform and the pay, and then turned around and looked at me and said, you shouldn't even be at this meeting. So I stopped doing everything. And then my managers called me in the office, by which time I had found my sister's post, been to the interview. They had then got my reference, saying for my references, and I said to them, am I here? Is there a problem? Are you not going to give me a reference? And in the end, they made him write my reference, and they said that they were upset because he had made them lose one of their own homegrown nurses, and now I was going somewhere else, and somebody was going to benefit from all of that. So don't be afraid. And at that point, I had been in the same trust, not the same job, but the same trust for 10 years. And
there you are.
I went somewhere else. And then after that, I moved on. So never be afraid of moving on. I know we're always worried about, and I think for women, it's about job security
And children and being near where they go to school and stuff like that,
But sometimes you just have to take that chance and make that step, and that will help you to move on. And I think the other thing that you need to take away from this, all of you, that Joan said, was that bit about being persistent and being consistent.
Persistent, insistent, and consistent.
That's it. Insistent and consistent, And I think that is just brilliant advice. I will be tweeting later, Joan.
Just follow me on Twitter. I might get up to 7,000 people.
You said something else and I couldn't get it all down.
What was that? When you have obstructions, oppositions and obstacles, see them as opportunities and then ask yourself, what opportunity do I have to optimistically overcome my obstacles? See the windows of opportunity and go through the open doors.
I think you're going to try with that one. You better tweet that one yourself.
Okay, so I think we have to call it an evening, and the rain has stopped, thank God. We'll probably get more tomorrow, hopefully more sun after that. But Joan, you have brought sun into our evenings, you know, to us, and I really appreciate what you've done for all of us. And I know you did it because we asked you to, and I'm really grateful to you. And Edith is still hiding. Where are you, Edith?
I'm here. I've had problems with my laptop. I had to swap laptops in between, so I'm here.
Sorry, can I just say one more thing? The reason why I did it as well is because in 2004, a year after I became a nurse consultant, I was teaching at Middlesex University, and I was always teaching all the first year students. And years later, somebody applied for a job in my team. And she told me, well, she didn't tell me until when I was leaving. She wrote me gave me a card. And in that card, she said she was a student when she first heard me. And she was really found it motivational and inspirational. And she wanted to be like me. When she qualified, she got a band 6 job working in my team. And I interviewed her. All this time I didn't know until when I was leaving, when she wrote it in my leaving card. And just recently, last year, she got the community matron post in that same team, community children nursing team, where I used to work, from that young age of being a student nurse all the way up. So if I could inspire, encourage and enable somebody to get to the next level, then that's my job done. So thank you.
You've inspired me over again, probably hundreds of times before, but over again tonight, and also our students and our nursing colleagues as well as our partners. So, you know, great. It's fantastic to hear your story. Fantastic to hear everything that you've done and achieved. The mountain of achievements, you know, you've done personally for yourself and in your career, you know, it's fantastic. And also tackling racism and knowing how to deal with it, you know, that's fantastic. So
I wonder what that teacher says now.
If only she could see me now.
Yeah.
If only she wouldn't know where to put herself. But she might have got over herself by then. Actually, when she was leaving, I asked her why she was always so nasty and she was really horrible to me. And she said she didn't know why I was smiling all the time. That's what she actually said. I smiled too much.
How about that?
I think because I was always happy and laughing and smiling, because, I mean, what can I do?
She's most probably stalking you on Twitter as we speak, Joan.
Who's stalking me?
She's most probably
stalking
you on Twitter as we speak, so don't worry.
Yeah, she really is. Oh, bless her. Some people are just sad, isn't it? They're just sad. They can't help it.
And also, I think we need to thank our alumni who also joined us and our students who joined us this evening. So I just want to say a big thank you to you all for coming in to this.
Absolutely.
I can unmute you now, so you can all say something quickly before we all say goodnight. You're unmuted.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joan.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
We hope
Thank you,
for
Georgina.
more opportunities for this kind of talk.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. That was so enjoyable. I didn't want to stop. Good night.
Okay. God bless you.
Dr. Joan.
Thank you.
May inspire
All the best. You are the best. So just do your best. Okay?
Thank you.
John, thank you so
All of
much.
you are going to pass and you're going to do well. You're going to excel.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Bye. All the best. All the best.
Bye. See you soon.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night-night.
Bye.
Well done,
Bye.
well done, Pastor Joan. Excellent. Well
Where's
done.
Edith?
She's there. Don't worry, she hasn't gone.
Oh, hi, Mother Lydia. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good.
Edith, your friend's on the platform.
my wonderful best friend Lydia, how are you?
Thank you. Excellent. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. I'm not a nurse. I've not got that background, but I had to tune in.
I'm glad you did, Lydia. It's nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
We're
Excellent.
going to ask Edith to do a talk for our social worker students at some stage.
That should be phenomenal.
That would be brilliant.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a nurse just like Joan.
Oh. I want to be a social worker just like Edith.
Is that when you're all grown up?
When we're grown up, yeah, when we're grown up. We're still
good night,
growing.
Everyone. Wonderful.
Good night.
Thank you, Pastor.
Take care. God bless. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we staying on the line, Sheila and Edith?
Everyone, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, we're going to stay, Joan.
Huh?
Good night, everyone. I'm just saying good night to my students. Shireen, good night, Shireen. I can see you there. Good night. Tara, good night.
Everyone, Edith, thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.